one of the most profitable characters in the world. Anime franchises, Hollywood, and a recent phenomenon, the game Black Myth Wukong, which earned hundreds of millions of dollars in just a couple of days and smashed its way to the top of the Steam sales charts. For us, the Monkey King, soon Wukong, is a bright, expensive fairy tale. But you will be shocked to find out what kind of reality is hiding behind it. A successful fairy tale behind which stands an illegal escape from the country under threat of the death penalty, a harsh political protest for which the author could have been left to rot in prison until the end of his life, and ancient racism that turned a real, living person into an animal. Any great myth has its dark roots, and today we're going to switch on our logic to dig up the truth. Act 2. Diving into the myth. In the very heart of China, on the peak of the Flower and Fruit Mountain, lay a huge rock absorbing the energy of the universe since its very birth. One day, the rock split open, and from an egg in the center of the rock, a stone monkey emerged. Overflowing with magical power, it shot golden beams of energy from its eyes all the way to the heavens. This shocked the supreme gods, but upon learning that it was just a monkey, they lost all interest. And the stone monkey began to live with a tribe of wild monkeys, and soon, having found a secret cave behind a waterfall, became their king. The only thing that kept him from living peacefully was death. He realized all of them are mortal. And then a wild desire ignited in his heart. He decided to conquer death itself. The Monkey King sets out on a journey. For 9 years among humans, he searched for someone who would reveal to him the secrets of immortality. He went around every corner of the planet until he reached the Cave of the Slanted Moon and 3 Stars. There, he found a teacher who taught him everything and gave him the name Sun Wukong, meaning, "He who has awakened to vacuity." Thus, Sun Wukong gained immortality, the skill of 72 transformations, and a mega leap spanning 54,000 kilometers. Returning home, he saw that his tribe had been enslaved by the Demon King. Sun Wukong defeated him without effort, but realized that he had never yet encountered a weapon worthy of his strength. He descends to the very bottom of the ocean, into the treasury of the Dragon King. There, he finds the ancient iron pillar, Jinggu Bang, with which the gods once measured the depth of the seas. For anyone else, an unliftable boulder weighing nearly 8 tons. For him, the perfect staff, which, at his will, could shrink to the size of a sewing needle and hide behind his ear. Now, he is invulnerable, immortal, and armed. Fearing his power, the gods of hell tried to take his soul to the underworld by sending 2 hunters after him, who dragged him to hell while he was sleeping. But they didn't notice that during this time, his staff was right behind his ear. Seriously? They definitely sent the most attentive hunters. The Monkey King wakes up in the underworld, smashes the guards to splinters, and on top of that, finds the Book of Life and Death, and simply crosses his name out of it, and the names of all the monkeys from his tribe, and now none of them can die of old age. Now the twice immortal Sun Wukong is at 1, the gods of hell at 0. The frightened heavenly gods decide to appease the rebel. They invite him to live in the palace and give him the prestigious position of a stablemaster. And when the Monkey King, initially happy that he was recognized as an equal, realizes that his ambitions were simply laughed at, his ego explodes like a supernova. He renounces his title and, returning to the mountain, proclaims himself the great sage equal to heaven. This infuriated the Jade Emperor, and he sent several of his warriors to capture him. But of course, Sun Wukong got rid of them with ease. The emperor already wanted to start a full-scale war, but he was persuaded to give Sun Wukong an official, truly honorable status in the heavens. Sun Wukong was made the guardian of the Garden of the Peaches of Immortality, each of which ripened over thousands of years. Well, what could go wrong? He's already immortal, so the peaches shouldn't interest him, right? But no, he ate them. All of them. The entire garden. Having finished with the garden, he sneaked into the festival of the Queen Mother of the West, and seeing that they were drinking the nectar of eternal life there, he drank it. All of it. Reveling in his might and shouting that he is invincible, he accidentally wandered into the house of the sage Lao Tzu, and finding the pills of immortality there, he ate them too. And what he couldn't eat, he stole. The entire heavenly army is sent against him. 100,000 formidable warriors, whom he defeats all by himself. In one of the battles, Sun Wukong noticed that he had frightened his own army, and getting upset, he accidentally fell into a trap made by the sage Lao Tzu. They try to execute him, but it turns out that killing him now is not that easy. He is thrown into a sacred furnace for 49 days to burn out his power. But when the furnace is opened, he leaps out of there alive, with red eyes burning with fury, ready to tear the entire cosmos apart. This was the peak of his pride, strength without a vector, absolute chaos. And then Buddha himself intervenes. He offers a simple wager. If you can jump out of my palm, the heavens are yours. The Monkey King makes a leap of colossal strength, flies through galaxies, and sees 5 huge pink pillars at the edge of the universe. He writes his name on one of them and returns in triumph. But on the middle finger of Buddha's hand, that very inscription appears. The Monkey King hadn't even left his palm. You cannot run away from the one who is the universe itself. Buddha's fingers close, the palm turns into a huge stone mountain, and the Monkey King finds himself immured beneath it for a long 500 years. This became not just a punishment, but a rebirth. 5 centuries later, fate gives him a chance. A simple, mortal monk frees him, but not for the sake of new destruction, but for the sake of a great mission, to set out on a highly dangerous pilgrimage for sacred texts to save the human world, which is mired in sin. And right here, a real miracle happens. The one who hated any rules becomes a loyal protector. The one who smashed gods for fun now uses his incredible strength to protect the weak and fight true evil. Having gone through years of trials, monsters, and internal struggle, the Monkey King completes his path. In the finale of this story, he doesn't just receive forgiveness, he achieves enlightenment and becomes the victorious fighting Buddha himself. Beautiful, isn't it? A perfect Hollywood ending, even if it was written in the 16th century. But remember what we started this video with? An illegal escape from the country, death penalties, and ancient racism. It is time to dive into a reality that is far from Hollywood, hidden behind a bright wrapper of magic and flying clouds. Act 3, The Investigation. The story of Sun Wukong states that the government of China blessed the monk on his great journey to India, gave him the best horse, gold, support. Yeah, there isn't a single true word here, except for the fact that he was a monk. In the year 629 AD, the monk Xuanzang came to Emperor Taizong and asked for permission to go to India for Buddhist texts. The emperor categorically refused, because China was at war with nomads back then. The borders were closed, and leaving the country without the highest permission was equated to high treason and punishable by death. After the refusal, Xuanzang secretly, in the deep of the night, sneaks past the border posts. A pursuit is declared after him. The governor of one of the border provinces receives an order: catch the runaway monk and return him in shackles. But, being a Buddhist, the governor tears up the order and lets Xuanzang go. The monk walked through deserts as a fugitive criminal, hiding from the patrols of his own country, not as a revered saint. The path was arduous and dangerous. Xuanzang could not have walked it alone. He hired a guide, and it was not the Monkey King Sun Wukong at all, whom only Buddha could stop and hold back. It was an ordinary man, a Sogdian from Central Asia. His name was Shi Ban Tuo. But why then, in the story that reached us, was the guide a magical monkey and not a human? It all comes down to racism. To the refined and hairless Chinese of the Tang era, people from Central Asia seemed like outsiders. Because of their thick beards, abundant body hair, deep-set eyes, and specific skull shape, the Chinese dismissively called them Hu and frequently compared their appearance to monkeys in everyday life. Over 900 years of oral retellings, as the story was passed down from generation to generation, the real foreign guide, Shi Ban Tuo, literally transformed in the popular imagination into an anthropomorphic combat monkey with a magic staff. Racial prejudices turned him into a magical character who, in our time, became the character of a best-selling game. I don't know about you, but it makes me extremely sad that the real person who went through the most difficult path together with Xuanzang was simply erased. Xuanzang returned to China 16 years later, and the story reached us because he brought back highly valuable intelligence regarding the geography and armies of neighboring countries. For this, his high treason was forgiven. In 1592, 900 years later, the printed novel Journey to the West is published completely anonymously, which is what all the games and movies related to the Monkey King are based on. But why anonymously? 900 years had passed, Xuanzang was forgiven after his return, the story was completely rewritten. What was the author afraid of? If you read the novel carefully, the heavenly court is not a holy place. The gods there are shown as lazy, stupid, mired in bureaucracy and corruption. The heavenly chancellery is a caricature of the real Chinese government of the Ming dynasty. The author of the book, just like Xuanzang once was, took a huge risk by releasing this work. There was also a second reason. In those days in China, only high poetry and serious historical treatises written in the classical language were recognized. Writing fiction and fantasy in the vernacular language was considered a shameful, low genre for plebeians. Confessing to writing a fairy tale about a monkey meant completely destroying one's reputation in society. Can you imagine? If the author had admitted to writing a work that became a symbol of Chinese literature and culture, he would have first been canceled in society, and perhaps there would have been even more serious consequences. Many centuries later, they managed to establish the identity of the writer. It was Wu Cheng-en. He dedicated his life to writing. Most of his works are, unfortunately, lost. His poetry and prose are considered critical. In his works, he exposed the immorality of society. Wu Cheng-en died in complete obscurity and poverty in 1582. But don't think that Wu Cheng-en distorted the story all by himself. Xuanzang's real journey was too difficult, ascetic, and boring for the mass listener. The people in the marketplaces of China wanted action. Thus, the heat in the Gobi Desert, the lack of water, and mountain sickness, thanks to street storytellers, gradually turned into demons who want to eat the monk. And Chinese merchants walking the Silk Road brought back from India the local epic Ramayana, where the main character was the monkey-like god Hanuman, who could also fly, change sizes, and possessed great strength. Gradually, the image of the Indian superhero Hanuman was crossed with a local myth about a water monkey rebel named Wu Jiqi. The traits of the real guide Shi Ban Tuo were added to it, and they got Sun Wukong. It was the perfect commercial product of its time. Act 4. The Domino Effect and Finale. And right here, the circle closes. Hundreds of years pass. The names of the corrupt officials of the Ming dynasty are forgotten. The border posts from which the criminal monk once fled are wiped off the face of the earth. But the image of the Monkey King created in defiance of the system, doesn't just survive, it conquers the planet. In the 20th century, Japanese mangaka Akira Toriyama takes Sun Wukong, renames him Son Goku, and creates the Dragon Ball franchise, the foundation upon which the entire modern anime industry would grow, inspiring the creators of Naruto, One Piece, and hundreds of other titles. In the 21st century, the image of the rebel will migrate into video games, from Dota 2 and League of Legends to that very phenomenon on Steam with which we started this video. But why do we still, 4,000 years after Gilgamesh, whom we talked about in the last video, and 400 years after Wu Chang'en, continue to pay billions of dollars for stories about ancient heroes? Because Sun Wukong is not just a fairy tale about a talking animal with a magic stick, and it's not even a story about racial stereotypes or political satire.
Sun Wukong is the perfect, eternal symbol of primal human freedom. He is that very part of our soul that desperately hates boundaries, rules, imposed authorities, and boring bureaucracy. Each of us, at least once in our lives, has felt like Sun Wukong. When the system tries to make a submissive stablemaster out of you, locking you within the boundaries of deadlines and job descriptions, your inner ego demands recognition and screams that you are the great sage equal to heaven. The irony of fate is that history erased the real person, Shi Ban Tuo, but his incredibly hard, lethally dangerous journey through the desert for the sake of a great goal turned into a metaphor for the fact that absolute chaos, pride, and selfishness can only be harnessed if you direct your colossal strength toward protecting those who are weaker than you. And as long as this little, stubborn rebel, fighting desperately for his freedom, lives inside each of us, the Monkey King will remain immortal. The true immortality that he searched for so long turned out to be found not in peaches and not in elixirs. It turned out to be in our memory. Don't take everything at face value. Guard your inner freedom, and see you in new investigations.